All right, let's get this party started. It is March 6, 2017. Welcome to SIG Apps. We have a few announcements followed by some updates and demos and stand-ups today. And then we'll open the floor for open discussion. So if you're not speaking, please go ahead and mute. Thank you. The first announcement is about KubeCon in Berlin. KubeCon is March 29th through 30th. There are in-person SIG meetings on March 28th. SIG Apps does have a slot. The in-person meeting will be a lot like what we did in Seattle. And I'll follow up with an email on the mailing list regarding the time and agenda. We'll probably do the unconference style session for the agenda. If anybody has any suggestions on something they'd like to see or do differently, please let me know. Please reach out or shoot an email on the mailing list. All right. And if you have this document up, please help us by taking notes. That's always really useful for later. So let's kick it off from updates from the core team, the workloads team. Is anyone here to give us some updates? All right, do we have someone from workloads or working on Kubernetes stateful set? Okay, we'll follow up later.
I can speak about stateful sets if nobody else is from the guys who are working on it.
Okay, yeah.
We had some flake fixes lately, since 1.6 is mainly for stabilization. So we fixed observed generation, which was, there's an API field that wasn't really working, and we fixed that as well. Yeah, and it's mostly bug fixes and flake fixes.
Awesome, thank you. Anybody here tell us about, anybody here who can tell us about the daemon set update work?
Yes, hi, it's Łukasz. So the code is merged, and now only small fixes are left and documentation.
Thanks. Anybody here from deployment and replica set?
Sure. So similar to stateful sets deployments, it's mostly bug fixes and flake fixes. We fixed a serious bug last week, which was breaking upgrades from 1.4 to 1.5. And during the weekend, I also triaged all the flakes that are assigned to this group regarding deployments. And we have like from 41 or 42 up, 11 are for deployments. And from those 11 flakes, only one is real. We will talk about those later, but we're pretty good with flakes.
Awesome, thank you. Anybody else want to talk about anything from Kubernetes core, any updates from Kubernetes core? Were there any notable pull requests or issues that we didn't cover already? Okay.
We also moved deployments to the apps group, which is a really good big usability improvement for 1.6 users. That's worth mentioning as well.
Okay, what's the apps group?
So right now there are different API groups where the objects are mapped to, and the apps group is destined for workload controllers and for stateful sets and deployments. Generally, if you go through the doc that Brian has shared, where he's talking about the application layer for Kubernetes, there is where you will find all the objects related to this layer in the apps group.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. All right, so unless there are any more updates from Kubernetes core, we'll go into demos. Is Adam Hawkins around for a demo of Dynamic Helm Chart Repo Server? He was not feeling well last week, so maybe still out sick. Raphael, are you around?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, can you take us through this graphical notation that you were talking about to describe the kube API objects?
Sure. Let me see if I can share the screen.
Also, would you mind giving a quick introduction of yourself as well?
Okay.
Thanks.
Let me see if I can share this screen first. Okay, can you see the presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so my name is Raffaele Spazzoli. I work at Red Hat in the consulting practice for OpenShift, North America. Recent hire. My past is in enterprise architecture and application architecture mainly, so not a lot of background on the infrastructure side. And one of the need that I felt when I started working with several customers that are onboarding their applications to OpenShift, and in some cases, like doing massive type of onboarding with thousands of applications. One of the things that I felt was missing was a way to quickly describe the way that the application was going to be deployed with a graphical notation, so that you could get a grasp of the architecture just by looking at the picture. And so I came up with this notation that I'd like to show to you guys and get your feedback. And in this presentation, I'm going to use Kubernetes and OpenShift interchangeably. I apologize for that, but I didn't fix all the all the times that I was using OpenShift. But as you know, it's essentially the same thing. My objectives are to create a graphical notation, like I said, to represent the OpenShift or Kubernetes API object, those that are relevant architecturally. So I didn't have the objective to represent all of them because, like I said, the purpose here is to facilitate communication. Ideally, one would be able to, with some colored markers, to create these diagrams on a whiteboard and take a picture and then recreate them in a presentation. So that's the extent of my objective here. So at least for now, for sure, there is no intention to auto-generate API object definition from diagrams, which was one of the objectives, for example, for UML. Okay, I'm not trying to recreate that at all, at least not now. Some cues, some visual cues. There are going to be color coding and shape coding. So from a color coding perspective, red is the Kubernetes cluster, green is compute, yellow is networking, and blue is storage. Okay, that's very simple. So starting from compute, which is probably the most complex object here, the idea was to have at the center the pod, right, with potentially one or more containers. And then on the left side, more attributes about the compute configuration. So the type of controller, and here I have the list, and the replica number, or if horizontal pod autoscaling is enabled, maybe this is an interval. On the top side, we have networking configuration, basically the exposed ports. On the bottom side, volumes. And you can, depending on the type of information you need to show, you can just show the name, or you could show the volume type, or even the mount point. It's all about what you need, what you need to communicate. In this example here, I just have the name. And on the right side, some more about config management, so credential and config maps. Okay. Feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. From a networking perspective, there is a service object, which again has a service name, a type, and these are all the supported types. It will connect to a compute port, so we'll connect to one of these. And then it will expose some ports. And also you can have a route or an ingress. So services are oval and routes are this shape here. I don't think it's called diamond, but parallelogram, right? It's a parallelogram. And ingress is the same. So you have the name. If you want, you can have the host name that is exposed, and then it will connect to a service port. For storage, we have volumes. Persistent volumes definition. You can set the name and the type if you want, and then here also I'm introducing a concept of you can have a cluster, and you have some objects that are on the fence here, a little bit inside and a little bit outside, and these objects are way inside or outside to get inside or outside the cluster. So in this case, for a volume, for a PV, which is a definition to a remote storage endpoint, this is one of those that is on the fence. I mean, it can be on the edge, and same thing is true for ingresses or service of type load balancer or external IP. So putting everything together, this is the type of diagrams that you can create with this notation. I have created a little stencil or palette in Lucid Chart where you can just drag and drop these shapes and then start connecting them with arrows. So this is a deployment of a MariaDB with a stateful set in the service, and then a Tomcat application that is connecting to the MariaDB service. It's using a persistent volume with Ceph, and it's exposing a route outside the cluster or an ingress. So for me, at least to me, this communicates a lot of architectural information very, very quickly. That's why I needed it. I have a document that describes everything in a little bit more detail, which is here. I can share the link later. That's all. Questions? Questions or idea or feedback?
This is really cool. I hadn't. I guess I don't know. Maybe somebody else can also speak to this. Whenever I Google images for if I put in Kubernetes deployment or Kubernetes replica set into Google Images, it gives me a lot of different types of image. There's not a standard way that I've seen describe this. So it's a really interesting model you have here. I'm wondering if I go back and think about this for a few days, am I gonna, every time I see a pod or a service, am I gonna think about these shapes? That'd be just an interesting thing for me to know. You have a question in chat. It says, how are the images generated?
Well, I'm using Lucid Chart. In Lucid Chart, you can export a shape. It's not really a stencil like in Visio, but you can export a shape and then reuse it later. So this is just the PNG, so an export of a Lucid Chart diagram. I hope I'm answering the question.
Yeah, I think you are. You also have a comment in chat. Being able to express architecture like this would be really useful for Helm charts. It would give a common visual metaphor for expressing the contents of a chart. Totally agree.
Yeah, I agree too.
Is anybody else doing something like this internally or informally internally? in your own companies and orgs?
In my company, Red Hat. You were asking? You were asking me or somebody else?
Everyone.
Okay. So for my company, the answer is no. I'm starting it.
So in OpenShift, we have a console, the web console, and there is a graph view where you can see all the objects. There's a good graph there. And we also use, we have a tool which is it's generating dot format, so you can generate graphs out of the status of your project, your namespace, basically. Project is the equivalent of namespace in OpenShift.
Cool. Somebody's asking for a link to the repository and how to run and test this.
I can give you the link to the shapes and to I can give you the link to the shapes and to this presentation and to the document that explains exactly how to use the notation. There's nothing to run. If we're talking about the notation, there's nothing to run. We're talking about the auto-generated thing that is in OpenShift, or actually was in OpenShift. Then yeah, you have to go there to run it.
Alrighty, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, so I'll send you the link, Michelle,
yes.
And you will share with everybody, okay?
Yep.
Perfect.
Thank you. All right, since we only had one demo today, does anybody have like an impromptu demo? You want to compile code on your laptop and show us? No? Okay. I figured that might not be super popular on a Monday morning, but I thought I'd ask. Okay, so let's go into stand-ups for the Kubernetes related projects. Butcher, do you have anything for us from Helm?
No, so this, we're in kind of the middle of a 2.3 development cycle, and things seem to be moving along smoothly. So I don't think I actually have anything to say for once.
Okay, cool. And anybody from the charts repo want to give us an update on charts? I don't see anybody from the charts repo here, and that's totally fine. Anybody from Compose? Tomas, do you have something for us? I think you're speaking, but we can't hear you.
We still cannot hear you.
Okay, let's come back to Compose. App Controller, what do you have for us?
Yeah, so I can say that we added, like, we finally have better iterating test suite. It works like automatically right now. We obviously are still working on this Helm integration. The discussion in upstream and the development started. I think everything is okay right now here. We are aiming like the end of this month to have the complete version. POC should be really pretty soon. Yeah, and we added some more features to error handling, so it's more and more ready. And we also started some development on those live cases that we already mentioned several times here. So it's also something which will be probably ready this quarter. That's all from my side. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, anybody from CNR, Jimmy or Antoine?
Sure. So recently with the CNR work, we've just been trying to get a Go library implementation out so that more projects in the community can work on integration. And then this week, we're going to be rolling out a staging environment for a live hosted endpoint that integrates with Quay. And if anyone's interested in participating with an actual live instance that they can push their images to, just let me know. Shoot me an email. That's about it for this week.
Cool, thank you. Dace workflow, anybody want to give an update from that?
Well, as I know you know, Michelle, Vaughn, Dice, and Matt Fisher continue to help out with Helm. Otherwise, I guess we don't have anything particularly germane to report.
All right, thank you. Tomas, you want to try with your Compose update again?
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Better?
perfectly.
I'm on my phone. So we have released a 0.3 version that includes several bug fixes and improvements in Docker Compose file parsing. And we have also worked a little bit on our documentation. Now we have a table that describes basically how Docker Compose directives are mapped to Kubernetes. And we have also a new homepage, dockercompose.io. And last Friday, really nice thing happened, and that Docker Compose IO got on the homepage of the Hacker News. For a while, we were on the first place, so we had quite nice feedback and comments.
Very cool. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Helm or Charts or Compose, App Controller, CNR, or JS Workflow? Okay, great. So we have some time left. If anybody has any questions or something they'd like to talk about or follow up on from last week, feel free to do so now. Okay. So next week is we'll have a demo and we'll talk about the proposal for aggregated API servers. There's a link to that in the agenda, and I'll also throw out a description in the mailing list for us. So if you could join us for that, that'd be great. And if you want to prepare, there's all the relevant links on the agenda. So with that, I will let y'all go like very, very early. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.